All right, we are streaming and recording. I am streaming and recording. Looks like we are going through. That was very quick. All right. Getting the stream going here. Okay. Hello, Sudo Linux. Sudo Linux is already watching. Let's see here. Well, actually, all right. Start streaming. Start. Starting. And we should be live now. Go ahead and refresh our YouTube control center here. Start. Awesome. And yeah, Sudo Linux is in the chat already. Good to see you. We should be joined by some other people shortly here. Just a couple of minutes ago, somebody else started joining the video call and then didn't. Let's see. Yeah, Sudo Linux switched to Ubuntu Mate. Cool. Yeah, we are starting. Well, I started the stream early, Sudo Linux, because I'm already here and ready, and somebody else just started joining the call and then left. But yeah, welcome. Sudo Linux, if you want, you can actually join the call, or you don't have to. But this is a public meeting, and hello to Sinan Namur. Hello to you as well. Once again, this is an open meeting for users and developers of Composr content management system. If you're interested in Composr, you're welcome to join even if you don't use it yet. It is a really great content management system. It's what powers nerdonthestreet.com and probably some other more important websites as well, but I know it the best from Nerd on the Street. Oh, yeah, that was Sudo Linux. Okay, well, I started the stream because I saw that you were attempting to join the call, so I went and put my dog outside so she wasn't barking, and then, yeah, started the stream. Well, we'll see here if Chris shows up. Is that you again, Sudo Linux? Hello.
Howdy.
Testing. All right. And they left again. You don't have to join Sudo Linux. You're welcome to just watch. Yeah, I probably shouldn't have started the stream this early because now I'm going to be talking to nobody for 12 minutes. I thought that was Chris joining because last week he joined about 20 minutes early. So yeah. Thought that was the other person who's sort of in charge of this stream. That was why I started the stream. But yeah, we had some good discussion last week. Got a little bit of code written, which is cool. This week I've been taking a look at some of the things Chris put in Tracker after our call last week, which the recording from the call last week is also on our channel. So you're welcome to watch that as well. Hopefully the stream's coming through nice and stable. I did turn down our bitrate for this week because we were having some issues with the video calling last week. But yeah. Sudo Linux started, he made a website yesterday. Did you make it using Composr? Oh, I should probably stop uploading to Vimeo, since we're starting a live stream here. Alright. That might help my bandwidth a little bit. Oh, this is interesting. Let me see here. So I can share my screen. Right. But only the entire screen. And it doesn't work too well simply because oh, that's fine. It doesn't work too well just because I've got two monitors, and one of them's 4K, and the other one is over here and just has blank space above it. But yeah, this is Sudo Linux's website. Cool. Yeah, you're already on GitHub Sudo Linux. When I made the first version of nerdonthestreet.com, I was actually using Google Sites. So HTML is superior to that. Hello, Bob Myers is here. Welcome to the call. We'll see if they attempt to turn on video and or audio. We've still got a few minutes before we start here. I started streaming a little bit early this week. Alrighty. Chris has not joined the call yet. So yeah, we'll just hang out for the next 9 minutes or so. And looks like we've got there's Chris. Welcome.
Hey there. How you doing?
I'm doing well. We got Bob Myers. Yep.
Yeah, I was in a bit of a rush actually because I upgraded my computer last week and my web server had stopped working, so I had to fix it quickly. I had I'm a Mac user and I updated to the latest macOS and it went terribly wrong, and I've lost 2 days this week just trying to get it working, trying to get it finished. Because once I started the upgrade, it basically crashed halfway through and my computer couldn't do it due to some bugs. I had to actually finish it on my MacBook, and then my web server was broken. I had to recompile PHP, blah blah blah. So I'm here just in time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Anything you want to talk about before it starts? I guess we've got 8 minutes.
Yeah, we're actually already streaming. Somebody from my YouTube channel tried to join earlier. They started joining. I thought it was you, so I actually started streaming about 20 minutes before we were scheduled, and then it wasn't you. So that was fine. Okay. But I've just been looking through the all the tracker things that you had posted on the forum last week.
Yeah, that's a lot of text.
Yeah.
Took me half a day to go through all that stuff, but I'm glad I did because it was a bit of a jumble before. There's not really any new ideas. We've had those ideas for like a year, but the way I presented it now, it's so much clearer. And looking back, I really want to do some of those things. The CSS, the method of making themes where you just kind of add a CSS file on the end of the existing file and never have to override a CSS file. That's going to be so much better for upgrading because we'll be able to do a ton of themes without having to override a single file. Well, some templates, I guess, but no CSS tests. So that was one of the big things in the past. We did like 30 themes. We actually solved them, but they were kind of like shareware. So my company did like 30 themes, but then in the next version we changed. Hi Bob, did you? I see you. But in the next version we changed our theming compatibility, so the 30 themes we'd done no longer worked. It's kind of frustrating. I didn't have the time personally to go over and make them all work again. Well, I was thinking one thing we could do today, if we don't have a lot of questions, which we might, is just to actually implement some things off the tracker. So I've got open the tracker on my other screen. Let me share that.
Okay. Do you remember to turn the screen sharing off whenever you're finished sharing that? I think last week you left it on after we were still talking at the end.
Oh.
Because your camera goes away when you start sharing the screen. So then when we go back to talking, you just want to remember to click the screen sharing button again so it goes back to your camera.
Yeah, okay. Let me do a little test then. So, screen sharing on, screen sharing off. Now if I click it again, it doesn't remember the screen. Not a huge deal though. I see you can share individual Chrome tabs. That's pretty cool. And individual windows, okay. I did a little search on the tracker for issues that are half an hour or less. We've got a big list here, so it might be fun just to do quick fire issue implementing.
Yeah.
So see how many we can do in an hour. I think people would really learn something from that too. But if people have questions, that's better.
Yeah.
Directly addressing what they want to know. Well, I did invite quite a few people, so yes, maybe about 5 people are going to turn up today.
All right.
Well, what do you want to do, Jacob? Do you want to talk about theming? Or I guess because it's not quite 7 o'clock my time, maybe we shouldn't quite start with the proper agenda yet. So
yeah, we got a couple minutes. Yeah.
How about I just? Yeah. Okay. This tracker issue is meant to be 0.1 of an hour. So what's that, like 12 minutes? Make adding forum groups slightly easier. We should have an inline link on the forum route to add a forum grouping. So that's simple.
Mm-hmm.
So I have my site. Just rearranging my editor here. Okay, so go to the forum. Okay, so we have a add forum link and we have an edit forum link, but we don't have an add forum grouping link. I think this was based on someone asking about this, how to add a forum grouping, and I realized there's no easy way to do it from the front end. So what was said here? We should add an inline link on the root forum to add a forum grouping. I think I said only on the root forum, because if you do it from a sub forum, it's probably just going to confuse people more than anything. So just here, maybe at the end of the list of links. So this should be super easy. Forum screen template. CNS forum screen. Oh, maybe not. CNS forum. Yeah. We are including the staff actions templates, and we have link 1 and link 2, and that's the add forum and edit forum. So we're going to add a third one, I guess, but we're only going to do it on the root forum. So I guess we do it for every forum first, and then we'll make it just for the root forum afterwards. So I'm just cloning the last link, so the new last link, and the URL is going to be a page link to the, I'm not sure what this is. I think it's a separate module. Admin CNS forum groupings here. Oh. Okay. So that, and we're going to add. So there's no ID when we're adding. The title will be edit forum grouping. I'm pretty sure that's a language string already. And it's not going to have an access key. And I guess we don't want a rel on the link, because I could say it's add, but we've already got add for the add forum, so let's just not have a rel attribute. And we need to find some kind of icon. For now, I'll just make it the same as add one category. And refresh. Oh, it's edit forum grouping. It should be add forum grouping. Check clicking it works. And it works. Okay, now what kind of icon should it be though? That's a good question. Because forums are already categories, so it's like a category. I'm not sure we've got a category icon here. But maybe we have a forum grouping icon. I'm not sure. Composr. I'm just going to dig through the icons, see what we have.
Mm-hmm.
Images, icons. 48 by 48. And menu, admin zone. structure forum. No, we don't have one for forum groupings. Okay, so maybe a generic admin. Which one of these is the closest? So we're already using add one category and edit one category. Maybe view archive. Let's see how it looks. Come on, hurry up. Okay. Yeah, that's all right. Okay, so now we need to only make it show for the root forum. And some temp code should work in theory. Start if is equal the ID to 1. So it should look the same here, but in a subforum it should not be visible. Good, okay. The only problem is I hard-coded the number 1, which assumes MySQL, which I can't do. So I need to know the ID of the root forum, or do it a different way. Oh, hey there.
Hey there.
Oh, it's Soccer Dad, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. You and Jason look a little similar, actually.
He's got a little more hair than I do, but other than that, yep.
Okay. You're in Canada, right?
I am. Yeah, Niagara Falls.
Yeah. Cool. Yep. Okay. So we're just coding up one feature on the tracker, which is adding a forum grouping icon to every forum but the root forum. That's not very clear. Let me show you. So we're adding a forum grouping icon on the bottom, just so that people don't get confused not knowing how to add a forum grouping. But the stipulation is we only wanted to show in the root forum. So if we go to a subforum, we don't want it here, which we've got working, but I haven't done it quite right yet. And the problem is I'm doing it based on checking the ID is equal to 1. If the ID is equal to 1, we're showing the link, but hard-coding number 1 assumes we're using MySQL. So SQL Server, for example, uses 0 as the first ID, so we can't actually do that. And I'm just wondering how else we can do it. I guess if we knew there was no parent forum, that's the same thing as being the root. So I don't want to do this in a really hackerish way. So let's look to see if we need to pass through another parameter to the template. Whilst I'm doing this, I'm actually trying to remember exactly where all the functions are defined. Okay, so the CNS render forum view function is at the end of it probably going to call the template. Yep. And we pass in the ID. So, oh, I noticed some ugly code. That's better. We need to pass in the parent forum somehow, if we know it. So we have forum info, which is the database row, but it might be null. So parent forum is forum info f parent forum. That's the database field I remember from memory. We need it to be a string. However, this could be null, in which case we'll make sure it's blank. And also, this could be null too, in which case we want to, I guess, put it as -1. And we'll say -1 signifies not even a from, because the same code is used for the list of virtual topics, list of personal topics, and so on. So in that case, we want to differentiate that from being the root forum. So we say that a virtual forum, such as the list of personal topics, has a parent of -1, and the root forum has a parent of blank, and any other forum will have a parent, which is actually the ID of the real parent. And that should pretty much be done. So if empty that parameter. Oh, hey, Owen.
Hey, Chris.
So Alan, we're just coding off something from the tracker whilst we're waiting for people to join.
Nice.
And I'm just checking it actually works. I think it works. Yeah, cool. Okay, so I remembered I've got to do one more thing and then we're done. So we've added, Alan, we've added a link to add a forum grouping from the forum view, from the root forum view, if you're staff.
Please.
Okay, so the only thing I've forgotten is because we added a parameter to a template, we should actually make sure there's no other calls to that template, because if there are, it'll be missing the parameter now. So I'm just going to search the code for case sensitive CNS forum, and I put an apostrophe on the end so it doesn't get other stuff. Okay. Okay, yeah, so I've caught an error here, so I need to do it here and here and here. So for a virtual forum, we already decided that parent forum is going to be -1. And the other one is template previews. For every template, we have a defined preview where it just puts nonsense stuff into the template preview so you can test it when you're theming. So we'll just pass through blank for those. Someone is running like a aircon there. I don't know what that was. Okay, so we're done. So I'm just going to put this into a code branch, actually. So we edited 4 files. I'm going to create a branch called feature, and then just the tracker ID, I guess. Okay. And changes to my branch and go back to master. And now those code changes have disappeared because I shipped them in a branch. Cool, so we have a clean slate again. Okay, so I guess we'll start properly now. So on the agenda, we had talking about theming, specifically what kind of theme options we want to have by default. So just to fill in anyone who's not really been in this discussion, one of the ways we're going to try and improve upgrading and make theming easier is by changing the idea that people just make a theme to the idea that people maybe they just set some options on the default theme. And that will mean that because they haven't overridden any theme files, they can do upgrades with much more ease. And it means they don't have to know anything about CSS or HTML. They're just changing options in an admin UI. So we've come up with a few already. I'm going to load up the tracker issue on my computer. So where was it? Extended theme options. So we've got quite a few already. Just quickly going over here. We've got turning curved borders on or off. So right now they're on. Curved borders have kind of gone out of fashion actually with flat design. Things are a lot more just flat blocks of color now. Pastel shades, for example. Turning text shadows on and off, turning box shadows on and off, turning gradients on and off, changing the default fonts. It would be really cool if you can select any font from Google Fonts. Changing the text size, the default text size, changing the background colors, making the menu so it sticks there when you scroll down. So it's like we have the menu here, but it would be kind of cool if it stayed as you scroll down at the top. That's quite popular nowadays, sticky menus. And then the rest are kind of technical ones, because we're trying to solve another problem here. The other problem being that people should be able to make themes without having to worry about supporting every little nuance of Composr. So, for example, someone could make a theme that doesn't support the admin zone, and the theme would be flagged as not supporting the admin zone, and you wouldn't be able to select it for the admin zone. So no one can then really complain that it just explodes when you use it in the admin zone, because it's not going to let you. So does anyone have any ideas, just turning off my screen, about other theme options we might want to have initially? Anyone?
Good suggestion on getting rid of the corners, the rounded.
Yeah.
Like you said, they're out of fashion. Kind of gone back to the square blocky stuff that we had back a decade ago.
Yeah.
But that's nice. That's a nice idea. The other one that I saw that was kind of an overriding thing was WordPress. But anyway, WordPress actually allowed you to put CSS code underneath, so it was a blank screen, and you just put code, any CSS in there, and it overrides on the theme CSS. So I can then go and add my own tags that override. Now that's what I do normally when I'm using OC Portal anyway. I just take the original one and I put my stuff at the bottom of it, because I can never remember what the other stuff is, and I want to be able to go back to it if I can.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because I've independently come up with exactly the same idea.
Perfect. And it great. It's everything I've ever done at OC Portal from day one is I always take that default one, and then my stuff has a big custom code that sticks at the bottom, and I just hack away at it, put stuff at the bottom.
Yeah.
But that way you can always get back to where you're from too, which was another big issue, is I forget all that stuff. So I forgot what I've changed. And to get back to it automatically, it's all right there. The reference point's right there. I can comment out stuff at the top, nice and easy. If I have to, comment a huge block of stuff, and just comment it out and leave it there. So that's a nice, easier feature for addressing what you mentioned, Chris, which has really stuck with me from that original email, was the fact that your users at OC Portal and Composr had to be a little bit more knowledgeable. And I like that feature, because then you don't end up with all sorts of stuff, which is not necessarily the greatest thing. This way allows you to do that very easily by just sticking that code at the bottom of it. And that was all done through the admin page on WordPress. And then the other option that was with the WordPress, which was nice, was the ability to easily do the mobile theme with, I don't know what they call that, the responsive type theme stuff, which was a click. And so that made that easy, which again, with the phones and all that kind of stuff, is becoming more popular as people are using that stuff.
Okay, that's interesting. So that might be a theme option. So in version 11, I keep getting the version numbers wrong. Version 11, we are doing proper responsive design. So in version 10, we have mobile mode. So it detects if you're using a mobile browser, mobile device, and it will use the different templates and so on. So version 11 is actually, it's actually hybrid. It's both. So it's mobile mode and it's responsive. And the advantage to that is you get the advantage of lower bandwidth. So on a mobile device, it's going to strip out all the desktop responsive styles, only send the mobile styles. So if you want a really patchy connection in the woods or something, you might get like 20% less CSS sent through.
What would it do in that, using that idea? What would it do if you're in a tablet at home, for example? So I'm actually using Android, so it may think that I'm a mobile device, but I'm actually a tablet sitting in front of my Wi-Fi, where I don't have really the bigger, like I have more power to use that. Do I get my full experience with that, or does it take me back to a phone if I'm even using my tablet?
Okay, so I think the best way to answer that would be to say what we currently do first. So currently it will detect Android as a mobile device, and it will show mobile mode. For version 11, it would still detect mobile mode, so it would switch, simplify it down like that. But you could change it via a desktop mode button in the bottom. So actually, what you said earlier made me think of a new theme option. So we probably want an option to disable mobile device detection for one thing. So if you want Android just to be fully responsive And maybe if you like turn it into landscape mode, it will actually show the desktop styles. And if you turn it in portrait mode, it won't, for example, depending on exactly what the responsive rules were.
Yeah.
So we want a theme option to enable/disable mobile mode. And I was thinking like enable disable responsive design, but we probably can't do that because it's probably too deeply baked into the CSS to actually allow you to disable for an option. Okay, so you're talking about just appending styles. So let me turn my screen back on here because I've got the tracker issue back up. By the way, if I look this direction, it means I'm looking at the screen I'm sharing. And if I look at this direction, I'm looking at my main screen. Okay. So we have this tracker issue, improving CSS and JavaScript maintenance. And that is basically what you described. We're allowing any individual CSS file to be having custom code appended to it. That way you don't need to override the file. So if you upgrade the theme, if you upgrade the site, you don't need to worry too much about upgrading the theme because you haven't overridden global.css. You've just appended to it via a separate file. But I've actually specified it to be a bit better than just appending. I've specified that we could allow some manipulations. So we could have this syntax where you can code it to delete a selector from the main global.css or delete a particular property. So you can kind of hack it around in CSS. You can redefine a property, but precedence becomes a real issue in CSS. So there would be cases where you'd be having really ugly code trying to override a property or just get it back to the default if we didn't have this deletion syntax. And we're proposing doing the same for JavaScript. So JavaScript is kind of similar to CSS in that you can override, you can redefine stuff. So you can redefine a function in JavaScript later on in the file. So we can allow you to redefine functions without having to override the whole file. So that's that one. Because I'm talking about the things we're doing, I might as well keep going. So I created this holding issue with all the different things we're doing. So we've already talked a bit about theme options. I guess we might come back to that. Major upgrade re-imaging, including hypervisor. So that is a huge rewrite of the upgrade system that I'm planning. So currently upgrading is too hard. The ideal situation is we want upgrades to be fully automated and the user is told like an upgrade is scheduled for next Wednesday. If you don't want it to happen, you can click this link, otherwise it's going to happen. And it happens and the site automatically is upgraded and everything works perfectly. The problem with that potentially is, of course, if you've overridden code files or something, you might have overridden an old version of something that's not going to be compatible with the new code. But I think we have to think that the majority of users are not going to override code.
I would think so too.
Yeah, and with this new theme system, they're not even going to have to override theme files. So for the majority of users, I think we can have completely automated upgrading. And the idea of the hypervisor is it sits in front of Composr as a separate standalone bit of code that doesn't depend in any way on Composer's database or Composer's code files. So if something went really wrong, it would be able to automatically roll back the code. It would do some automated tests after doing an upgrade, and if they didn't pass, it would just roll back. So I think that's pretty cool. It's going to be a lot of work though. Theme maintenance and testing tools. So this is a set of extra tools designed to make it just a little bit easier to make themes. I can see I can't count actually. I've gone from 1 to 3. Let me fix that quickly. 1, 2. See, we're learning to count today. It's great. So it'd be really cool to be able to edit a theme seed. So you can use the theme wizard right now to generate different colors, but you can't really edit it after the fact. Or another problem is you've used the theme wizard to create a theme, but then you've upgraded Composr, and now there's a new image which would have been put through the theme wizard before, but now you've already done that, it hasn't gone through. And you could solve it right now by manually making another theme and copying the image back over to your theme, but it's a pain. So we need some better tools here. So the ability to edit theme seed and the ability to reapply the seed you've chosen to your existing themes. And yeah, that's that one. And then some better testing tools too. So people make silly mistakes all the time, even I do. So people, for example, might put like a local host URL in their theme, and it works fine on their machine, but then they put it live. It'll work fine on the live server too for them. But we want to try and we want to try and pick up on those cases where embarrassing cases that are really easy to miss. Yeah, and better tracking of what versions of Composr themes are developed for. So if you develop a theme for version 10.1.5, which doesn't exist by the way, and you've upgraded to 10.3.7, you want to actually know that the theme you made or the theme you installed was for originally 10.1.5. And once you've upgraded it carefully to work for the latest version, you want to be able to flag the theme to actually say this is now for, I can't remember what I said, 10.5.7 or whatever. It's probably more relevant to third-party themes, so you can see that it has actually been updated. And just better ways of validating the code, more integration. Okay, so what else do we have? Improved template choose to select selector. So right now, when you're choosing a template to edit or CSS to edit, it's just a drop-down list, basically. Well, it's not drop-down list, it's a flat list, but you're choosing a file and you're clicking edit. But it doesn't really tell you a lot. It doesn't tell you when the file was last modified. It doesn't tell you how big it is. And these are just useful little cues, because if you're, I just try to put myself in the head of the average user who has this huge long list of templates. Maybe the names are fairly instructional, but just showing the file name and showing when they were last edited by them will just give them a bit of a better clue about what is the right template to edit, especially if you can sort by these fields. So if you can sort by last edit date, then you can see the templates you've been editing. You don't have to troll through the list again trying to find them. So that's a fairly simple little one. That's flat design icons. So let me just bring this up quickly. We've been redoing all our icons as SVG files. I don't know how well this is going to show on the stream, but it's about 500 icons. It's insane the amount of work that's gone into this. Yeah, thanks, Alan. Yeah. Yeah, this is actually the final DefNel to Alan's original icons, because a few of them do remain in Composr. Okay, yeah, so we've redone hundreds and hundreds of icons, and we put this through a lot of testing on different screens, and I'm really happy with them. So we've actually done the work of building the SVG files, but now we have to integrate it all. I'm slightly concerned that they've got orange and blue in, which is kind of assuming that it's not going to clash with whatever color someone's theme is. So we might have to pass these through the theme wizard somehow. I'm not quite at the...
Can they be easily changed, the colors?
They could be, yeah. So maybe it'll be fine. I haven't really... I think I'm going to have to see it in practice to actually know how good it's going to look. But we're going to make some changes to make the theme more flat design anyway, so we're going to be modifying stuff. It's possible we might make the default theme a bit more like the Composr CMS home site, so that uses orange, so maybe the default theme will use orange too. That's always confused designers I've briefed. the idea that the home site is one color and the default theme is another. For some reason it's kind of hard to get into people's head. This rather benign looking issue here, support content security policy, is actually a complete rewrite of all our JavaScript code, because this is to get rid of what's it called? Cross-site scripting vulnerabilities. Basically, by enabling content security policy in a particular way, you're saying that no JavaScript will ever be allowed to run from the HTML all JavaScript must be from an external static file on the server. And that just completely chops off the head of the potential for cross-site scripting, because it just can't be injected. You can't inject JavaScript. But to do that, we had to remove all our inline and vet handlers and that kind of thing. And it's done, basically. Salman's been working on that for a long time. And whilst doing it, he's written a totally new JavaScript framework. And it's really good, actually.
So we won't be doing that live in this session.
No. I think he's put about eight months of man hours into that. We talked a bit about hybrid responsive theme already. Cross-file editing and Ace editor. So this was done years ago, actually. We got a really nice template editor in version 11. It's more like an IDE on a computer. So the template editor we have in version 10 is very simple. It's almost just, well, it's got syntax highlighting and that kind of thing, but it's basically just an edit box. This is much more like a fully featured IDE. Okay, installer and setup wizard simplification. So that's just removing a few things from the installer and setup wizard, really, that most people wouldn't want to change because we ask a bit too much at the moment. Tile-based activity feed. So Sockerdad, that's actually based off your idea about the activity feed. I just changed it a bit. Yeah, so I really liked it. Quite a few years ago, I came up with something similar anyway, which was tiles, which is really similar to what Windows 8 and 10 does. Laying things out automatically using a grid of tiles and being intelligent about what you show. So this removes the need for people to edit block layouts if they don't care that much. So it's about making things simpler for the average user. The more experienced user would still be able to have full block management. But if the average user can just add content and it automatically shows what the content they've added is on the tile display, that's great. So I think for 90% of people, they don't need to specify exactly what the layout is. And we can market it as AI if we want. We can say it's an artificial intelligence way of laying out the site. Because it is really, it's a quite sophisticated algorithm. It will be. So, for example, it will show the poll first, or it'll kind of order content based on dates and that kind of thing.
Do you think that's configurable too, Chris, so that you can change?
That's a good question.
Or
I think
version
probably.
12?
Yeah, I'd rather not think about it because it's just going to occupy my mind space right now. I think once we release it, I think obviously people are going to come in and see what can be improved about it.
Probably a better idea. Yeah, once you can get bigger, wider feedback. Yeah, good idea.
Yeah, our developer Salman's really good at design actually. So he's just drawing off finishing the JavaScript stuff. So next he's going to put together a presentation for us on screen by screen what we can make nicer from a design point of view. I'm trying to rein him in. I don't want him to just start rewriting things as he sees things, because we'd end up in chaos. So I'm making sure he's going to be disciplined about it. He's going to put together a presentation, then we're going to track it all and prioritize. Because it could be a completely open-ended, multi-year project that. And again, this is theme options. So we already have implemented some theme options, but this is kind of a different spin on the theme options we talked about already. So we talked about making the theme more configurable. This is making certain things that were global configuration options into per theme options. So for example, you can make some themes fixed width and other themes not fixed width. Right now, it's just one single option for the whole site. But ultimately, it's the same system. So it's making sure that individual themes have a large set of options. And that's the full set of issues. Any comments?
Awesome.
Cool.
Okay,
Okay, so yeah, should we go back to theme options then? Because that was the first thing on the agenda for today. So we've already come up with the idea of having a theme option for toggling mobile mode. So we could just toggle that off and have a fully responsive theme, just using the standard way of doing it. Or we could leave it on and have an optimized mobile mode, depending on the person. Any more? Maybe if I actually bring up Composr. Let me turn my screen back on here. Okay. This test site's going to be pretty ugly, by the way. It's just one of our unit tests sets just some theme seed color I typed in randomly. And then it creates the theme. And whenever I actually then go to the site, I see this theme's gone live. So get rid of rounded corners. We talked about making the menu sticky, getting rid of gradients. Anything coming to mind about things that should just be configurable about this?
Do you have wide configured in the, I can't remember now, the setup wizard? So that I have the option of saying, I don't want that right column. Yeah, you do. You can set that up in the main. That's right. You have the drop down where you can set up. You can choose which column. And if there's nothing in there, it doesn't show. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm actually thinking with the tile view, we might not even ask about block layouts anymore. Oh no, I think what I decided, which is obviously subject to being changed if we discuss it, but we'll just move the block layout into an advanced option in the wizard. The average user would just go through and they leave it as a tile display.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. And that way you've got, folks who've been using it for a while can still choose either or, and anybody coming on board for the first time, especially if they're used to something else, then they won't be hit over the head. They can just carry right on through and make it set up nice and easy.
I'm actually wondering why there's a white line down here. That looks like a bug to me. I guess I'll look at that later. Okay, should we move on, or anyone else want to talk about theming?
Just one little question about the flat type theming that you've been talking about. I know you talked about getting rid of the gradient and possibly the rounded corners, which I do think would make it look more modern. Are you still going to keep borders around a lot of stuff, or are you going to also be toning those down as part of the flat design?
That's a good point, yeah. Borders should be another theme option. Enable disable borders. That sounds like something Trump would want to disable the borders. Okay. Okay, so I'm just trying to remember what was on the agenda topic. So there was talking about theming. There was talking about questions people might have. Do you remember? There was a third one, wasn't there, Jacob?
I only see 2 in your list.
Oh, okay. Maybe it was just 2 then. Okay, well, if no one has any immediate questions, then we can go back to just implementing random easy things off the tracker. So I'll turn my screen sharing back on.
If you still want to talk about theming, I have a couple thoughts at the risk of not derailing us. I don't know how much time you want to spend on it, but in the chat here, I've just posted a link to a theme that we ended up using recently for like a creative kind of portfolio piece that we needed to have up. And I think it's a good example of what modern design is looking like these days and kind of what was useful to me. I don't know if that's coming up, that Elementi theme.
I just opened the chat. I'm just noticing there was a guy sudo Linux or girl sudo Linux saying something about window capture, and they've gone. Yeah, I didn't see that. Okay, sorry, Adam.
That's okay. So this theme I think is a good example of kind of the modularity and where design trends are going. It is kind of a specific look. So I don't know that this is universally applicable enough to be a default theme, but maybe there's some elements of it that can inspire. What I do think is neat about the way this is structured is that it is a template that they sell, and they've done it in kind of a blocky way. It doesn't feel like blocks because they're wide, they span the whole width, but as you continue to go down, you'll sort of recognize that it really is just chunks of divs that can be really dropped in any order. So I just thought that I would leave this here as kind of a reference for how some trends are looking, and it's nice use of white space, but it's also sort of a kind of a modern taste on the, hey, here we are, we're selling a couple things. Here's some nice big pictures of those things and some short little lists and like links to get over to a portfolio or a gallery or something.
Yeah, I just noticed it's got lorem ipsum on, so Chrome's thinking it's in Latin.
There it is. Yeah, absolutely. Way to go, Chrome.
Yeah. Okay, so there's two ways of addressing this. First thing is after version 11, so version 12, possibly. I'd like us to do an official, super high quality, modern grid-based theme. So this would be like that, and this would be like well, we'd just maintain one really amazing theme, and it would be something like this. I don't think we're going to make the default theme so configurable that it could just look like anything close to this with options. But I think if we analyze it, we might be able to see some interesting little things.
Particularly as you go through, it's actually a pretty deep theme. So a lot of these links really do click through. And so, when you go through to the portfolio and stuff, there's some neat, even like they've figured out how comments should look when people reply and what nested comments look like, how to make a sidebar with some meta information that goes alongside another piece of data. So they've thought through a lot of little pieces that I appreciated. I was surprised when I kept clicking through how many pages actually are in here.
Is this WordPress?
They sell it available for WordPress. They also sell it as just an HTML template for a little bit cheaper.
Okay. As far as I understand, sometimes when people make themes for WordPress, they actually implement quite a bit of structure beyond the actual theme. So they actually kind of have to make the editors themselves because the base system doesn't support it. Or you have to kind of edit HTML. It was messy.
Yeah, when I dropped this in, I did have to drop it in as a WordPress template, and it was like, hey, here's like the 8 add-ons that have to like you have to download, and like a lot of them were like paid license versions, and it was this weird thing where like you're on the free version of a lot of these add-ons, but because you bought the template, you're kind of allowed to use it this once, and I had to like update all the add-ons. It was a gnarly mess.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just go through methodically. So I want to just look at Composr. So I think one of the options would be to move the banner to the bottom. So I don't think I've got that written down because someone did mention that before. I think it was Jason who mentioned having an option to move the banner to the bottom. And I kind of discounted it because I thought it was kind of fine-tuning. Someone could do that themselves. But actually now looking at this, I can see, obviously, if we had a huge banner at the top, it would totally destroy the layout. So someone might want a banner on a... Yeah, someone might want a banner on a theme like this, but they'd have to have it at the bottom or integrated into the front end.
One step further, Chris, if you click on any one of those links that take you through on that page, you can see the same idea. Click in anywhere and follow it, and then start scrolling. You'll see that same idea you had about the menu at the top, but that might become a problem if the banner stays at the top, right? So their menu is locked and it changes. So it's the same on the front page, just more standoutish on any of the links because the background is dark.
Right. Okay.
So the menu stays directly across the top. Banner up there would cause some problems in that location there.
Yeah. Yeah. I see what you're saying. Okay. Okay. So we've got a fairly plain top.
Is the this theme goes right from the left of the browser all the way to the right, especially with the menu. Is that something that's going to be in the Composr default theme after you make it more responsive, rather than having margins on the left and right by default?
Well, that's just a fixed width option, so we already have that. You can just go into the theme options in the config and turn off fixed width. So I'm thinking maybe we want a theme option to just completely turn off the background and the header. Then I guess it would have to choose a different color for the text. That seems reasonable, yeah. Just having an option just to make it so the header bar doesn't have a background color. So turn off header bar background color. Okay, so we've got the menu on the right and we've got the logo on the left. Here we have a massive logo. I'm not sure we can really make this configurable because we have quite a lot we're trying to fit in. And we could make an option like, do you want to show the search in the header? But if it gets turned off, what are we going to have to search into one of these menu items? I suppose we could, but it's getting a bit fiddly. So I think we're going to have to make some assumptions. Scroll down, so we've got basically content at this point. And we have basically a grid layout or blocks, however you think about it.
The theme implements search is just a button that pops out after you click the button. Is that something that would be hard to do?
Oh, that's cool. I really like that. Really, wouldn't be particularly hard.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Even if it just slid over from even in the spot it's at right now.
Hey, Al, I'm back.
Yeah. Oh, hello. I don't think we need to make that beam option. I think we could just improve our default search to do that, and that would give us some space. So let me write that down. Hi, Alan's family, by the way. Don't think they can hear.
Hey, sorry.
Okay, so this isn't so much theme as it is default content styles. Not sure if there's a really easy way to approach this, because for the theme you're going to install it and you're going to have all this lorem ipsum content and you're going to edit it, but Composr is entirely different really, because you've got the default CMS content integrated in, and it doesn't have a lot of lorem ipsum stuff for you to edit. But we do have page templates, so potentially we could ship this kind of stuff as a page template. That's not a bad idea, to give someone a default front page based on a page template, and then they get that. I guess when you run the setup wizard, it would ask you, do you want to choose your blocks? Do you want to have a lorem ipsum front page, or do you want to have a tile-based activity feed? And then the footer, we've got a fat footer compared to our simple footer. I'm just wondering if there's scope for a fat footer config option. The problem though being it would need to know what menu items to have. I don't think this is a menu even in version 11 because it's dynamic. For example, mobile version has to flip over to desktop version, and logout will flip over to login based upon your state.
I for one, like the fat footer trend. I often find myself rummaging down in fat footers these days to dive around if I've gotten the whole way through a page and definitely could not find what I was looking for. It's nice to know that in a fat footer these days, generally you can find links to stuff.
Yeah, it almost seems like it's a table of contents or an index, which I do the same, Alan. I go often right to the bottom, and especially if it's an about or something a little bit more esoteric or specific that's not part of the general overall feel of the in-your-face page. Yeah.
Okay.
Could that be a set of menu blocks, Chris, that you could put in there that we could option to put down there?
Yeah, I mean, technically it's fairly easy for us to do. I'm just trying to think about how we'd do it without kind of going off on a complete tangent in terms of what.
Yeah, definitely want to kind of keep it simple.
So yeah, we could easily just have this as a menu. But the problem being then, if you haven't enabled the fat footer and you've got this menu in the menu editor, it's going to confuse people. So I'm just wondering if we can derive it from the top menu, maybe just repeat the. Maybe we could have an option which is like have drop downs or have a fat footer.
How about those menus aren't available to do anything unless you've selected fat footer somewhere, fat header, sorry, yeah, fat footer somewhere. And then those menu options aren't even in your face.
Yeah. And it's kind of nice that it has the newsletter sign up too, and the address. I'm gonna write this down and think about it a bit more. Okay, Alan, any points, or shall we move on?
Did you end up clicking through beyond just the homepage on this one?
Not really. So let's try this then.
Yeah, I don't know that that's exactly the one. If you go to like a portfolio page,
I
remember specifically that at least that has.
Okay, this is cool. So there is a tracker issue related to the galleries. Improved gallery layout modes. I should probably link that into our master issue. Current issue of this. Okay, so right now we have a standard gallery mode, which is grid of thumbnails, and we have flow mode, which is a carousel of thumbnails. And this is completely different kind of gallery layout.
It's masonry.
Masonry, exactly. So
what did you call that, Alan? What was that referred to?
Masonry. I believe that's the JavaScript library that kind of allows images that aren't the same aspect ratio to nest in and fill all the available space.
Cool.
Yeah, so I've already specified it out actually. So we changed the current checkbox for enabling flow mode into a radio button set, and one of them would be mosaic mode, which would be this. So I keep going to the wrong place. So this would be a gallery in mosaic mode. It's fairly straightforward.
Yeah, and really this is more like a catalog. If you go ahead and click through on any of those items, I think that you'll land at like a catalog entry, right? And you'll notice that this has multiple photos. There's a header photo associated with it, and then lots of other kind of smaller associated photos along with description, and it's all kind of broken up. So I don't know really what kind of entity this is, or if this is applicable to most sites, but for the work that I do anyway, this is, all the time. We're always kind of preparing like a story on an event that was done and trying to feature it with a layout like this.
So the advantage this has is it's not actually implemented as content management at all. It's just static, and the theme presumably gives you some template you can put on, but it won't be actually in WordPress or whatever. It won't be adding a gallery image or adding some content item.
Yeah, I think that it's just like a post that has that layout where you're just kind of dropping in pictures by hand. I don't remember how they implemented that.
Right. So I'm going to stick to what I was saying. It is effectively a gallery image. Alan, I'm not sure you're aware. Have you seen the custom fields feature in version 10?
Yeah.
You can have custom fields on content types. You can add custom fields to an image, for example. So your gallery image could have 20 other fields. It could have intro text.
And they could link to other images, maybe.
Yeah, you can actually have fields that will link to a particular content type. So you could have a field that links to an image or to a news post or whatever. Still, you'd have to code up the template to lay it out properly, because by default it would just be sequential, showing all the fields in sequence. I don't think there's really a way around that unless we do it exactly the same way that this theme would do it. Just kind of do a content dump, or take a HTML dump, I mean. But it's cool. I think I'm going to have a little think about this later on.
Yeah, it's a nice layout, as particularly if you're assigning a designer to rethink all of Composr. I think this is a good model. I think they have a good use of white space, at least for this kind of design. And others, feel free to speak up. And maybe there's plenty of other use cases I'm not thinking of that this wouldn't be applicable for. But in my mind, I like to think that it's a pretty versatile design.
Yeah, that's probably true. Okay. Any more bits you'd like me to look at, Ellen? on the menu?
Not specifically. You could spend an afternoon, I think, kind of churning through them. There's really a lot here, but we don't need to take the time now. Those loading animations are kind of annoying. And that's a feature. I don't quite understand. I guess when you turn it off, you end up with the fonts flickering in and stuff. So.
This is the onload event. It's not going to show it until every image dependency is loaded.
So.
I think.
I believe so, and that was a feature that was available at some point.
It's not. Yeah, it's not much of a feature.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a bug, not a feature. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not loaded for me. Let me try that again. Oh, no, it works. Okay. That's cool. Okay, so back to implementing random tracker issues. So what have we got here? Not this one. Oh, I think I've lost it. I'm going to have to refilter the tracker. Oops, you. No category, time estimation. Really quick ones. Okay, so make adding forum groups slightly easier. We did that one. I don't want to mess around with notifications right now. It's kind of complicated. Except to use the submissions in the setup wizard. I don't want to run through the setup wizard right now. More notification changes. Allow disabling the feature when deleted attachments automatically get put back. That's kind of complicated. It took me a while to even think what that means. And go to admin zone end of upgrader. Okay. And then this one, missing action logs for certain actions. Okay, these are kind of fiddly things. I'm gonna see what else there is if we put up the time a bit. Maybe I can half do something. If anyone thinks of any questions whilst reading through this, go ahead. Yeah, a lot of these are kind of finicky things that wouldn't be very interesting to actually explain. Oh, notifications for poll votes. That's something that's pretty cool. So you can add a poll right now to the forum. But you don't know if anyone's voted unless you actually go in and look at it. And I think that might be the case for most third-party forums like PHPBB too, or vBulletin. It'd be so much easier if you just got an email when someone votes in the poll and see what they said, especially if you're actually putting up the poll for a good reason because you're trying to plan something. So if I put up a poll saying, what should we concentrate on in version 11? Should we concentrate on upgrading, theming, design? I want to know right away. Whenever anyone votes, I want to know immediately what they said because I want instant feedback. I don't want to have to keep refreshing the poll.
Is the notification system broad enough that it can like do push notifications through other APIs that aren't just email?
Kind of.
Okay. Like push bullet, push over.
It supports it in the API, but it doesn't support it out of the box, so we'd have to code that up. Okay. And I'm afraid that one would be a little bit too complicated to cover now. It'd probably be more like a week.
Okay, fair enough.
But it's pretty cool, the notification system we have. It can do email, it can do web HTML5 notifications in the browser. So like in Windows, I show in the notification tray area. I can't remember what it's called. But it's similar in macOS too. So actually native desktop notifications. You do digests, so you can have all your notifications come in a weekly digest, so you're not constantly being spammed when someone replies to your posts. Maybe you just want to know once a week who's replied to your posts. What else do we have? We have SMS. We have Then there's something else I can't remember. Anyway, I don't think I'm going to code up notifications for pull votes right now because I don't want to try and show on the stream what happens when emails come through using my test server. I'm not even sure I've got email working on my test server, so I'll leave that one. Oh, I just noticed setup was asked for email address. That's actually a duplicate. We have that in a newer issue. I'll leave that. Actually, that's a bit more complicated. Downloading a CSV, that might work. But I'd have to have test data, an iCal feed for the calendar. That's pretty cool. Being able to just feed in a site's calendar to your own calendar on your desktop would be pretty cool. But again, most of these are so fiddly. It's going to have me pull up the calendar and look up specifications. So I'm not going to do that. Strip stop words from URL monikers. Yeah, we can do that one. So if we add a news article like "Have a nice day," the URL moniker should be probably have-nice-day. It shouldn't have the word in because it's not really conveying any useful information. So let's do this. Okay, so add a news article. This is a test for the feature. So we want the moniker to be probably test for feature, test -for -feature, not this -is -a etc. So I'm just going to copy that to the clipboard, put in some nonsense for my news article. So we'll just confirm it isn't great right now. Of course, this is just a kind of finicky thing because the user can already edit the moniker to what they want. But it's nicer if we have a better default. So yeah, / this is a test for the, and then it crops off feature because it's too much text. So that's actually another good reason to do this, because if we get rid of the stop words, then we have enough space for the more important words deeper into the text. So best way to do this, to test it, is probably not going to be to keep adding new items of content. It's going to be to do it at an API level. So that's why I have in my clipboard the text we're going to shorten. And somewhere in the API, probably urls.php, but I'm not entirely sure. We're going to have moniker generation code. Maybe URLs too. Oh, here we go. Suggest new ID moniker for, that's a content path. It's probably a lower level function. Choose moniker. Generate moniker, here we go. So we're generating a moniker from a string. So in this test lookup, I'm just going to pull up that code file. So we have the function, define our input data, call the function with our input data. I'm just going to dump it out to the string. I'll explain what this means in a sec.
Wish I could do that.
So we're outputting a header, which is saying that it's going to be a plain text document sent to the web browser. So that means it's not going to render as HTML. And actually, we're going to just go out the string result of this generate moniker function. Then we're going to exit. So let's see what happens when we run that. Okay, so we're replicating what we saw earlier when we tested manually. So if we start modifying the generate moniker function, we can hopefully get the result we want. Okay.
Are you thinking it would be a list of words to strip, Chris, or would it be a size of a word?
I think it would be a list because there'd be short words that mean something.
Because I was thinking the same. Like if you had like the letter I and that was required, then that would obviously fit and get stripped when you probably wanted that on there, even though it's one letter.
Well, I would actually call that a stop word.
Okay.
I don't think we can automate it perfectly, but
so a list would probably be a better idea to try to encompass everything.
Yeah. When I was looking at this code, I saw we have some understanding of like umlauts and things from German.
Okay.
And just the word Uber came into my head. That's quite a good short word that means something. So if we had a news article just like this is Uber cool, you probably want the moniker to be Uber-cool, right? Because this and is are going to be stop words, but Uber and cool are not. So even though Uber is only 4 letters, it's not a stop word.
Gotcha.
What this is 4 letters, the word this, so that, because it's so common, it's just grammatical. It doesn't really mean a lot. Well, obviously it does, but it's you can understand without it, basically.
Without it, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we probably already have some stop words in the system. 2 common words.txt, because we already have these for the admin search. So if I look for this is probably there. Yeah. Okay. But obviously Uber is not that. So if we put in this text file and we go for each word, and if the word is in the list, then we just omit it. However, there's an edge case. Can anyone think what the most obvious critical edge case would be here?
If the entire title is made up of stop words, or
exactly, well done. Yeah.
Please test this. And that actually, your first 5 are your perfect example of that, except for you. But you've got please test.
Yeah.
Please test the. Yeah, that's a good call. Yeah, because that's exactly.
Yeah.
It could be all stop words.
Yeah, without that, it would generate a moniker like 5 or something. I think it would just revert to a number. Okay. So let's look what this code does. It has a max moniker length based on a config option. So that's why it cropped off that final word when we did the test. It cropped off the word feature. We do transliteration. So URLs are in ASCII, and by that I mean they're in kind of English text. All the weird kind of European characters or characters from Chinese, Japanese, Arabic, etc. They're going to have to be converted into English text. So we do transliteration, which is basically we substitute these weird characters for their sound in English. So for example, the U from Uber is UE in English, ook. So that just simplifies it down. So we're just dealing with English text when we get to this point. Okay. By the way, it is technically allowed to have non-English characters in URLs, but it's the encoding scheme is pretty complicated, so not many people do it, and it's kind of more liable to be buggy. Okay, so strip down, substitute to force it to be URL ready. So we take out any apostrophes, we convert it to lowercase, we take out anything that is a weird character, and we convert it to a dash. So apostrophes are stripped, but pretty much any other non-alphabetic character is going to be replaced with a dash. URL content regex is just something we have defined in our code, basically saying anything that is not, that's what the weird hat means, anything that is not a alphanumeric character will get replaced with this. If it's longer than the maximum length, then it's going to look to the last dash in it, and it will strip everything off after that dash, because we don't want to just crop it off at the cutoff point, because that might be in the middle of a word. And if we think about it, spaces will have been converted to dashes here. So that's the most common case. So it's going to cut it off at what used to be a space is now a dash. So that's just trying to be a bit smart. Here is, this is, anyone know what this means? Alan, do you know what this means?
Where is it?
Can you see this? Is the resolution good enough?
Yeah. Why is that in there?
Yep. Okay, what this is doing is it's replacing anything that is a sequence of multiple dashes into one dash. So this is a dash, but because a dash means something in a regular expression syntax, we have to put a slash in front of it. So this is actually a dash with slash hyphen. And then plus means any number of it. So any number of sequential dashes will be replaced with just one single dash. And that's just so that it's not ugly. If we have like this space is a test, we don't want it to be like this hyphen is hyphen, etc. We want just one hyphen. That's a weird case, but there'll be cases where people put in multiple grammatical symbols and we don't want to have multiple dashes for them. And if we do all our stripping and it's nothing, then we just put it as entitled. And if there's a conflict, it's actually going to be like Untitled 1, Untitled 2, Untitled 3, and so on. So back to what we're doing. We're stripping common words out. So I guess we're going to do that here. So this is a comment, // then it's a comment. And first we need to load in the list of words. And I'll probably just do that using copying and pasting the code that I do in the admin search. Too common. Use that code again. What this is doing is it's reading the text file, 2 common words in our language, because we support these text files being in multiple languages. And then we are splitting it by line into different elements in a list. So each line is a different element in a list. And then we're doing something weird. I better explain this again bit by bit. So starting inside and going outwards, because that's how it works. It starts from the most inward bit. So first it gets the user's current language, which is a Composr API function. So in my case, it's going to be EN for English. That's passed as a parameter along with 2 common words to this read text file function. So this function is defined to read this file from the text/language directory. It's a TXT file. So text en 2 common words.txt, and it's smart enough to do searching. So if we were in Spanish, for example, which is es, it would first look in text/es for 2 common words.txt, and if it didn't find it, it would revert to text/en, because English is like the fallback. So this is quite a smart function. The reason the file is a string, so it's just basically textual data in PHP, and then it splits it out into lines into a list. So at this point, which I've highlighted, it's just one long sequence of characters, but we want it to be a list of individual lines. That's what explode with this does. This is the new line character, /n. It's the line separation character. So it's that, what I've just highlighted. Ouch. Okay, so array flip. So let me just write down a little example of what it's doing. achieves the first 2 lines. So we've got please test. And then because there's probably a blank line at the end, yeah, there is. And we have a blank list item on the end too. Array flip, what that will do is it will turn that into please is mapping to 0, test is mapping to 1, and blank is mapping to 2. And what that does is, rather than just being a list, an indexed list, actually it's technically, it's like that's the initial list, and then we flip it. You can see more clearly now it's just flipping it around. So rather than 0 to please, it's please to 0. That just means we can address individual items directly. So in this case, we're unsetting from the list, we're removing from the list the blank item. So we're just going to end up with that. We obviously don't want to be stripping a blank word. It might crash or something. Okay, so that might still be a bit foggy, but I tried to explain it. So at this point, we have a list of stop words, and it's like a inverted list. So I'm actually going to flip it back. This is a simple list again. And for each item in the list, we're going to call each item bad word as we go through. So for each item in the list, we're putting it in the bad word variable, and we're running some code. And that code is going to be a little bit complicated. Okay, so moniker, that's where the data is held right now in moniker. I'm just going to write this, and I'm going to explain what it means. That's not. Okay, this strips a word from our moniker. So it's doing a regular expression. So it's like a searching thing like we talked about earlier. And it's trying to find anything that starts either at the start of the string or with a dash, and then the word. Then we're finding a dash or the end of the string. So it's kind of, it'd be easier if I simplify this down, just this, it's a bit more obvious. It's finding a word, and a word is defined as something surrounded by dashes. But because we have to consider it as at the start of the string or the end of the string, we have to write it as a bit more complicated. So it's either got a dash in front of it, or it's got the start of the string in front of it. In other words, it is the start of the string, or it's got it's got a dash after it, or it's got the end of the string after it, i.e., it's at the end of the string, and we're replacing that with blank. And preg quote is just because if there's any of this weird syntax inside the word, then we have to escape it. If it's easier, just think of it as doing this. Okay, so I think that's basically done, except for the edge cases. So I'm going to put the moniker we have into moniker backup, because at this point we may have stripped all the words like we talked about. And in that case, we're just going to go back to our backup, because we'd rather have something with stop words than no words. Also, I'm thinking we probably should have done this before we shortened the string. So actually, I'm going to have to make this code a bit longer. So we're substituting it to be Euro ready. And then we are stripping down. And between those two things, we're going to strip stop words down. Okay, so we've removed special characters, changed them to dashes. We've removed stop words. If we've removed other words, we go back to what we had. And then we strip down a length. And then we strip extraneous dashes. But then if it's blank, we put it to untitled. I think that's done. So let's try it and see if it crashes. It's probably going to crash. No? Okay. So it doesn't work, but it hasn't crashed. So it's saying A4 feature. Oh, I think I know what I've done actually. So it has stripped the stop words. It's most of them anyway. The problem is I stripped out the stop words, but I didn't replace them with anything. I should have, rather than replacing with blank, I should have replaced with dash. I think that might fix it. I think that's almost right. These are all stop words, and it's just features the other word. But for some reason, it's put a dash on the front. We can resolve that pretty easily. We can just trim dashes off each side. That's feature. Yeah. Okay, let's try something else. I'm just going to put a few test cases in. This is a better test for the feature. This should come out as better-feature. Oops. And that's better as a stop word, it might be. Oops. Yeah, it is okay. I guess the problem here is there's some stop words for the search that shouldn't be stop words for the moniker. Because if you're searching for better, then it's kind of nonsensical. It's not going to match very well in an admin search, so we strip it. But for a URL moniker, I don't think we should. So I'm going to have to invent some kind of syntax to solve this. Please shouldn't be a stop word. Other shouldn't be a stop word. Shouldn't be a stop word. Okay. I don't think any of those should be stop words. I don't think where should be a stop word. I don't think no should be. Also should be. I don't think link should be. Can anyone shout out anything here that looks like it shouldn't be a stop word?
I saw right with a W up there.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Would probably shouldn't be either. Out shouldn't be. Any shouldn't be. Okay, I'm moving all these down here. Yeah. Okay, test the and view that was for with his they one have this from probably shouldn't be. Had hot shouldn't be. Word shouldn't be. But should be. What can down shouldn't be. Take shouldn't be. Okay, this could be tuned a bit more later. Okay, I'm going to post this in the chat. Everyone wants to shout words at me that should be removed and put and put it to the bottom half, then that's great. I'm just going to keep coding. Okay, so reload this up. I'm going to have to somehow strip the bottom half.
Oh, I guess I can't put a line break in the chat.
Or a comma or something. Or multiple chat messages.
Drop it in paste bin.
Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm simply stripping everything that's after 2 line breaks and just removing it. So everything that is after this double line break is going to be stripped out before we do any computation. Huh. Okay, didn't work. So now we start debugging. That's a bad variable. Yeah, it has got everything on here. So, oh, that was my mistake. I missed a dot. Oh, still not working though. Okay, so if we have 2 line breaks, and then anything else should be replaced with blank. There was another mistake. That, which is a weird thing, meaning line breaks also count. Dot means anything. So anything, any number of anything that is after 2 line breaks should be stripped. But by default, the dot doesn't actually mean anything. It means anything but a line break. So we have to say this S option, which means anything including line breaks. Yeah, there we go. It works. Okay, so let's do another test case. Based on some kid's nursery rhyme. I don't know if you know that one. I went woods today. Now it's interesting eyes there. Did we define eyes as stop word?
I think we specifically said it wasn't. I don't know if it's in the file or not.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. I don't think I've converted to lowercase yet. I think I should be a stop word. We just put it into lowercase. Let's look at our list of words. So it's in the list of words. I'm just going to hack this temporarily to just be only the word I being stripped. Oh, yeah. So we're stripping the words, and we've made the moniker lowercase at this point, but we haven't made the word itself lowercase. So we just put this on the end, which means make lowercase. I know we're stripping the word I. This is complete coincidence that I also means case insensitive here. Perfect. Okay. Jacob, did you finish going through?
I picked a few more out, but I mean, it's kind of subjective and depends on exactly what you're trying to write.
Let's do it. Do you want to just read them out?
1, unless you're going to put other numbers.
No, I agree. Yeah, that shouldn't be a stop word.
thing and could I can kind of see being stop words, but I can also see them being in a URL.
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? Whatever people think about that. I think I'd strip them personally.
All right. HTTP and com, I get why those are removed from search, but I think if you're putting that in a title, they're going to be probably meaning something.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyone else look through the list?
Okay, let's consider this done then.
All right.
So, yeah, I think we better do a bit more testing now. So let's test that case where everything is a stop word. So it's not actually worked. So this should be this hyphen is, but it's gone to untitled. So we have a bug.
I don't see, after you moved that code up, I didn't see where you were assigning the backup anymore.
Right, okay. It's here. If moniker is blank, then it goes to back. The moniker back is set to moniker here. Okay, so let's just exit out here and see what we have. Oh, we have a dash. That's interesting. So, I'm trying to make this performant, but I guess it
would
doesn't
that be
matter
just
much.
if monitor equals dash? Because it makes sense to have a dash, because every word would be replaced with a dash, then it would be shortened down to one, right?
You're probably right, actually, but I think this is more bulletproof.
Okay.
If you trim out anything that is a dash and you end up with blank,
right,
then maybe that should do it. Cool. Okay, and I'll just test that I haven't broken my original test. Okay, so that's done. Put this into a branch again. I'll just check something. Yeah. Underscores. Okay. Cool. Okay. Well, that's a bit of coding done. Anything? What's the time anyway? So it's 8:30. We started at 7. So we've got half an hour. Any questions? Anything to discuss? I could look at some tracker issues, see what the top rated issues are on the tracker.
I've got a fairly simple question about news again.
I'll just turn off my screen.
So,
yep.
Is there a way to check if a news item has a secondary category? Because I know they're stored differently.
Yeah. Okay. How? Where are you tracking it? Is it in a template or something?
I'm wanting it to be in a template. Yeah. Where something's only displayed if it's in a secondary category.
I'm not sure about that one. You might have to write some code. So is this in the news entry view template or whatever it is when you're viewing a news entry? Right, okay. Okay, so let's have a look at the code then. I'm going to turn my screen back on. Okay, so the template is called by the news module, which is this code file. And I think it's probably near the bottom. Yeah, news entry screen. So we're passing in a category ID parameter, but we need to know the other categories. But we're passing in categories. I'm not sure what that is. I think it's probably a block of temp code.
Categories. All right. So this is news entry screen we're looking at? Or, no, all right, so you're just in the news module as a whole?
News entry screen. I think what this is it's a list of the titles of the categories.
All right. When I do a drop down on the parameters in the news entry screen, just in the editor, I don't have categories as an option. I don't know if there's a reason for that or if it would work anyway if I typed it.
It might not show it because it's a temp code list, which is a bit of an unusual thing.
Okay.
We don't even use that very much. I can't even remember how you use it, to be honest. I think we have like a directive to see if something's in a temp code list. Let me just quickly look at the code here. Okay.
The categories would list primary and secondary, right?
Yeah.
So we could tell just by checking if that's greater than 1.
Oh, you're just trying to see if it does have a secondary category, not what it is.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be one way to do it. Okay, so I was thinking you were trying to do something a bit more complicated, which I'm going to cover now anyway. So
Okay.
you can use the temp code loop directive over a list. The thing is, you can't output a list because it's not a string. So if I'm writing temp code, I could do something like let's start loop categories. Let's say I'm trying to find if it's in a category called art. So our set is in art to 0, which means false. I'll loop over the categories. If is equal the loop variable to art, then we're going to set this to 1. Then we can do later to start if gets is in art. Should be a comma. Okay, so that's the more complicated thing I thought you meant. You're just trying to see if it's got categories. Okay. So actually, I lied. I said you can't output a loop variable directly. You can. If I do that, it's actually going to show the length of the loop, I believe. Let me try this. I think this is a special rule. I think it will show the length of the list. It will show either blank if it's 0 length, otherwise it will be a number. But I'm just gonna test that. So use entry screen templates. I just put it at the top. Categories. I'll just put it inside exclamation mark so I can find it. Oops. Okay, so it's saying 1 actually, so it's in 1 category. It's always going to be in at least 1 category actually, it's never going to be in 0. So we can just do to start if not equal to categories 1. I do it. Fairly straightforward.
Awesome.
Categories, if the number of items in that list is not equal to 1, then you do the code inside. Or if it is equal to, then it would be that. Okay. Any more questions? Or shall I just go back to looking through the tracker?
That's all I had for this week. Anyone else?
Nothing
Okay.
from me.
Cool. So what's the most popular stuff on the tracker right now? This one I believe is actually, this one's actually sponsored already, so I'm not going to talk about this one. Our newsletter kind of stinks. Newsletter module can't compete with what's can't even remember. There's so many mailer web apps now, software as a service apps that are really good. So it'd be nice to improve the newsletter a bit. And one of the features is that people want is to be able to view past emailed newsletters online, or if you get the newsletter and it won't read, you can click a link and you can view it in your web browser. Personally, I'm not actually convinced this is a good idea. So this is kind of interesting to talk about. Is it the case nowadays that anyone gets an email that they can't actually read in their email package and they'd want to view online? Maybe some people are using Microsoft Outlook actually, which is terrible. I'm not getting any affirmatives. So.
Just for personal experience, I've seen those view this in your browser links. I've never had to click one myself. I
haven't. Yeah, I know Microsoft Outlook is really bad. It's almost like HTML3 support, but that means it's just going to ignore some of your syntax. I think it's probably still be legible. Maybe if you're really unlucky, it will show your foreground and background colors as the same color, in which case it wouldn't be readable. But I don't know about other people. If I was in that situation, I'd just highlight my mouse over the text so that it would kind of show with a blue background and I'd read it. Probably other people wouldn't think to do that, but I think that's unlikely.
Could you do an option, Chris, in the newsletter when you're subscribing that I just get text?
That is kind of complicated because it's like email queues, and we'd have to modify the email queue, I guess, to have the user's option in the queue so that the queue process wouldn't have to keep looking up for every user. And then when it sends it out, it could be done. I just think it would be kind of complicated. And the email dispatcher currently can only do dual format. It can't do single format. Or I think it can actually do pure HTML, but I don't think it can do plain text. And then the problem is that the plain text might be a bit ugly.
The formatting might be a bit of a brute.
Yeah, unless people hand edit it, but most people aren't going to hand edit it.
No.
We do a fairly good job of converting the HTML to plain text or the complicated plain text, but it's not going to be perfect. So yeah, I mean, I think this is the second most popular tracker issue, but as I say, I don't necessarily agree it's useful. Especially because you can have just like news on the website. So if someone, I don't particularly see a need to have an independent archive of newsletters when you've already got an independent archive of news on the site. Foolproof content embedding is already sponsored. Webcam chat is very popular. But I think I put down like this would take us like 2 months or something to do, so it's not very likely this one's going to get sponsored. I don't know how long 120 hours is. But right now, just using something like this, Jitsi, is working great.
Yeah,
I know
a lot of projects actually implement Jitsi. Sometimes it's kind of sloppy how they do it, but that's one option for that.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. I'll have a look at that.
I know I've got a text chat program called Rocket Chat. It's very similar to Slack, and they added quote-unquote video calling support by having a button where you click it and it opens up a Jitsi iframe within the program.
Yeah, if you just make up a Jitsi URL, will it automatically create the room?
Yes.
The text you have. Cool. There was another chat system, like live streaming system, that does the same thing that I noted down in one of the tutorials in the chat tutorial. If that's all it does, then it's pretty trivial, really. You can just like edit a template with a link that generates the URL. Yeah. Adding the ability to mass move content around would be great. It's not even that much work, actually. Maybe it's like a week or something. To be able to mass move, to be able to view a list of all your news articles and check them off and say, I'm going to move all these ones into this new category I've made because my general category's got excessively long and these things clearly can be recategorized. Or doing that for any kind of content, being able to move gallery images around really easily. That would be really useful.
So that's kind of like a select all idea. Is that the idea? So I could select all of a list and then move them all directly into some other category as you suggested there.
If you wanted to select all, you'd probably be selecting all, then deselecting some manually, or selecting some manually. Yeah. The only reason that is not implemented is it's only a few situations where you want that, and you can do it manually easily enough. But it would be nice to implement it. Add the ability to delete members with unconfirmed registration emails to the delete lurkers. Okay, yeah. So the delete lurker feature we have in the admin zone, it would be cool if you could say, I want to delete everyone who never authenticated their email.
That would be nice.
If they've had more than 4 weeks to do it, delete them. Yeah, it'd be nice. I'm not sure there's a huge reason to do it, other than I guess the only time I get annoyed with there being too many members is when I'm manually messing around in the members table in the database. Otherwise, I guess if someone was searching the member directory and there were a load of members who were not actually active, that could be a bit annoying.
Yeah, you do have a good point, though. I guess they're not really doing much to harm the website if they're not authenticated.
Yeah, I think so. I think genuinely there are some use cases where it's annoying to have members in the list who.
It's kind of like just a housekeeping item.
Yeah. But I think probably like 50% of people who voted for this probably thought like it's using up my database space, which wouldn't really be true. It would be a few bytes. Post profile completion. So that'd be a useful thing. So if you add a new custom profile field and you want everyone to fill it in, this would be an option that makes it so that when you log in, and if you haven't filled it in, you're forced to fill it in before you can do anything.
That's a good idea.
There's quite a few legitimate cases where you'd want that. Option to abolish gift points. This is my favorite one to discuss, and I think it's also Alan's. Is Alan still here? Is he gone?
He's still logged in, but he's not in front of his.
Oh, okay. This is Alan's favorite one, because right now our point system is overcomplicated for the majority of people. So we've got the gift points and we've got the regular points, and you get the gift points accumulating for free, but you can't spend them. You can only give them to people. So you can give them to people, and then there's people who have received them who don't have them as points, and then they can spend them. So it's a bit complicated and dynamic, and there's a reason for it. It's to encourage people to give each other points, because if we didn't have gift points, if people just gave each other their regular points, they might not want to do that because they lose out. But with gift points, they've got no real disincentive to give people points. So it encourages more charity, really. It's like free money. So it's a trade-off. Do you want to have a more complicated system that encourages people to give each other points? Or do you want a simpler system where there's only one kind of points and it's more like money? And I think for most people, the simpler system would be better.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. It's a standard economic 101. People are going to hold on to their own.
It is very interesting when you think about it in terms of real world economics. So I think of it as the current system is kind of communist. You've kind of got like a ration that you can allocate to people rather than having your own single money supply. But it's weird. It's a weird thing. Anyone else got some thoughts on that? Or shall I move on?
Does anyone here use points? I know the Composr website obviously does. I personally have tried to remove all traces of points from my website just because I think it's kind of a complicated thing. And if people want to talk on my website, I want them talking because they want to talk, not necessarily to earn points or whatever. But if other people use it, I'd be interested in how well it works.
Yeah, points are pretty popular because they tie into a lot of things. So the rank ladder, for example. So when you talk on the forum or people give you points, you rise up in the rank ladder and you get more privileges.
Right.
The website's assigning people privileges. Or to show people on a leaderboard or something. Or if you're using the point store. So there's a lot to do with points, but I'd definitely acknowledge the majority of websites wouldn't want them. Alan, you just missed the discussion about gift points.
Oh, no. My So, are we keeping it?
Well, I think I don't think there's any controversy with making it optional. It's just a matter of getting around to it. And I'd make the option off by default. So by default, you wouldn't have gift points on the site. Okay, so moving on. Yeah, I'm not sure I agree about this one. So segregating blogs and news in the content management area. So blogs is implemented as news, but if you look at the list of news articles, you will see ones that were added to a blog. I'm just laughing because Salman's just entered the chat, and we've got a few minutes to go. So if you had a blog post, that's a news article within a blog category. So if you go to the list of news articles, it will show that blog post as a news article. And some people find that kind of confusing. I don't think it's that confusing personally. Anyone have any thoughts on that? I think it'd be more confusing to force the segregation where there isn't one under the hood.
Because I just normally separate mine out with a block, and that's all. So blog entries have one block, and they're all blog entries, and that's it. And it just says that right at the top. I'm looking at my play toy here. I have it on. And then below that, right underneath, is my newest articles, and they're all newest news, and that's straight up.
So we're just talking about the admin UI here, and we're not talking about how they're displayed on the front end.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I missed that.
Yeah. So to me, because you use the news block for showing both of them, I think it'd be kind of confusing to not show the blog posts when you're managing news in the admin, only showing them when you manage blogs. I think that would kind of confuse people. It might be simpler in the short term.
Are they saying, like, if I'm looking at the edit news in the admin side, is that what they're referring to?
Yeah.
Because, I don't know. I mean, an article is an article is an article, and I can sort by main category, and my main category is my blog, is one of the main category types.
Yeah.
So if I just sort by that, then I can see all of my blog entries, and then the rest are, well, everything else would be a news entry or somebody else's blog.
Yeah.
But ultimately, they're still, articles.
Yeah. I think it's better the way it is. The reason we have a separate blogs module in the admin is so you can set permissions, so someone can't access the full news module, but they can access the blogs module, and it's just displayed in a simpler way with a simpler interface. I guess maybe that confuses. Oh, actually, I remember now. So version 11, we actually have an option to turn off the blog separation. So I guess that's the simple solution. Just don't have a separate blogs option at all. Just have news articles in news categories, which is back to how it used to be, actually, probably back in version 3 or something. And cascaded from input. That's a very abstract thing. I don't want to talk about that really. Okay, so I've gone through the first page of them, kind of. Any more questions, or shall we wrap this thing up? Any complaints about Composr? Things we can make better?
Always stuff to make better, but I have no complaints. I'm a fanboy.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, well,
it's awesome. But I do have a topic for next time, maybe.
Oh yeah, okay.
Just working. I've always struggled with that multi-content block, so much so that I generally don't use it. But I would like to see how those blocks can be used, just from a display perspective, and just a few minutes, just to kind of show me, what the idea behind it is, how it works. But it says bring in multiple content. All I end up with is blank screens and funny stuff. So then I just abandon the whole thing. But that would be cool, just to go through some of those, more intense blocks, as it were, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, and you can show us how they work and what we could use them for, and just to spark some ideas.
That would be good. So maybe next week we'll add a catalog and we'll add a ton of entries, and we'll use the main multi-content block to display all those.
Exactly. And so basically best case to get content out and how to display it. And cool, especially that multi-content one, because it and I wrestle all the time.
Yeah, so that's going to get into GUI IDs and templating. So that's actually going to be quite fun to do. We can specify that there's going to be a unique GUI ID for all the templates code from that instance of that block. and then we can edit the shared templates so that coming out of that particular block instance, they're going to look different.
Yeah,
so
cool.
we can have multiple main multi-content blocks showing the same content, but with different output HTML, different layouts, using GUI IDs.
Really?
So yeah,
that would be cool.
Yeah.
That would be very cool.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to dial out then now if we're done.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. This was awesome. Love it.
All right.
Yeah,
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Take care. Bye for now.
Bye.